locate them?
Austin 7070 Nigeria Limited. Our office address is at number 7 Ndande Crescent, beside First Bank, Wuse Zone 5, close to Wuse Market. You can also contact us on 070-899-39733. 070-899-39733. Austin 7070 Nigeria Limited. We believe in quality product.
Residents of the Federal Capital Territory are reminded of the need to be law-abiding, especially in areas of road use and illegal squatting. Please note that the Ministerial Joint Task Force is mandated to ensure that the existing ban on the use of unpainted vehicles as commercial taxis is enforced, and that of minibuses and coasters alike, to ensure that a complete ban on the use of motorcycles as means of transportation within the capital city center is enforced, to ensure the restriction of tricycles, keke to estates and designated areas within and around the capital city center, to ensure the eradication of the activities of commercial sex workers in the city, to ensure the eradication of other public nuisance such as drug trafficking, peddling, and removal of all illegal shanties and squatters, to rid the city of illegal motor parks and bus stops within the capital city. Let us together build an FCT of our dreams. Those arrested will be prosecuted. Be law-abiding.
Your right, my right, our right. Everybody's right is protected. Human Rights Radio 101.1, redefining broadcasting.
Farmers plus header people. It good make we hear what the minister for FCT, Malam Muhammad Musa Bello talk. Him tell all the people that where they carry cow walk up and down. Make them for go settle for where government give them for grazing for inside FCT. This go help reduce them suffer head to walk up and down. It go dey easy for government to feel support them. Make we say no to kili bonu plus scatter. The society need headers plus farmers so make food for them for we obodo for all of us to chop. Make headers no enter people farmland. Farmers report anybody when no one hear word. Make it for here make anybody no put the law for them handle. Make we come together to build peace. Now Federal Capital Territory Administration they bring from this message.
Hukumar kula da babban birnin tarayya Abuja na jawo hankalin Fulani makiyaya cewa ya zama wajibi da su bi kiran ministan babban birnin tarayya Malam Muhammad Musa Bello da su rungumi zama a wuraren da aka keɓe musu don kiwo a yankin domin rage wahalhalun da ke tattare da yadda suke yin sana'arsu a yankin. Zama a wuraren da aka keɓe don kiwo zai kawo musu sauki musamman ta fannin yawan tashi da barin matsuguni domin cirani, kuma zai baiwa gwamnati daman samun su cikin sauki don taimaka musu da ababen da suke bukata kamar al'amuran da suka shafi likitocin da ke kula da dabbobi. Ilahirin al'umma na bukatar makiyaya da manoma domin samun wadatan kayan abinci. Makiyaya a kula da hanyoyin da aka kayyade domin ku a babban birnin tarayya, a kauce ma shiga gonaki. Manoma kuma a bada rahoton duk wanda ya keta wannan dokan. Kar wani ko wasu al'umma su dauki doka a hannunsu. Mu haɗa hannu domin samar da wanzuwar zaman lafiya a tsakaninmu. Wannan sako ne daga hukumar kula da babban birnin tarayya Abuja wato FCTA.
Your right, my right, our right. Everybody's right is protected. Human Rights Radio 101.1, redefining broadcasting.
Agwo anakwo kan ba filo ele FCT ele na Abuja ege owe minister o be dafe ege yola babwa ka hwe hwa hwe hwa nakwe na ba na tabe je gugbo ba kunsun na hwani hwa japma ege na nakwo zokwe na ya hwe ele FCT na Abuja nu adabe je anyawu kunsun na hwani hukuma ele FCT ele na Abuja ba ya hwani lo ba ye anakwo kan lo mba na hedo na hwani bodo na nakwo kan hwe jina ba hwe aku ye hukuma aku sasaji akuko dada agwo anakwo kan hwe to lo ahwanu zokon ahwani hwetelo agozoko na gaba na baba kamba na kochon hwebe ya na bwado na ba ya mwanki ago na hwani hwesase na je lafiya LFCT ele na Abuja bade kwen kwakun ege LFCT minister Malam Muhammad Musa Bello.
bandiraaɓe waynaaɓe fulɓe ɗum nangi noto en noddaango ministajo laamorde lesdi ndi mouhamadou moussa bello dow waynaaɓe fulɓe nattitoade durduɗe ɓe nokkana to laamorde lesdi ndi nde abuja hakkunde maɓɓe remoɓe mi heɓa jonde e jaam e ɗawta risque takanas to ɓe keeɓi ɓe jooɗake ndebi gueere nattuki nde ladde wallira kadi gomnati heɓa waɗanaɓe ko haandi waɗanaɓe to jaamo maɓɓe e nanta dabbaji maɓɓe bandiraɓe to en jaaɓu tawe en kaɓa hakkunde meɗen e remoɓe ɓe nde fina allah fo leñol lesdi ndi e giɗi gaynako e giɗi demowo gin jonde jaam e jahargal yeeso risque mayri bandiraɓe waynaɓe jaaɓe jooɗo en to darduɗe ɗe e laamorde lesdi ndi abuja nokkani e gam jahargal yeeso hakkunde meɗen e remoɓe to komo fuu jaɓa nangguire aybe nde handaki en fo meɗen en kawtu koɓe gin rastinki resku e laamorde lesdi ndi abuja yilal ɗon ngal ardungal laamorde lesdi ndi abuja lildani en.
Welcome, my dear friends.
Human Rights Radio. Your 100% effort is not good enough. Give me 101.1 effort.
As a business owner, you may be asking yourself for reasons why you should advertise with Human Rights Radio. Well, I will give you 5. 1. We operate a 24-hour Facebook TV that accommodates all our shows and with 50,000 views per show. 2. All around the world, millions of people tune into our station live on our Human Rights Radio app, available on Android and iOS. 3. We are employing over 2,000 conversers ready to attend to all your advertising needs. 4. With our very affordable rates, you are guaranteed the best value for your money. 5. We go beyond radio and can be found on all other social media platforms, including Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Periscope, proving that while other stations enjoy listenership, we enjoy followership. The question shouldn't be reasons why you should advertise with Human Rights Radio. The real question is reasons why you haven't. Welcome to Nigeria's first magazine radio, Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM, redefining broadcasting.
We declare that human rights are for all of us, all the time, wherever we are and wherever we are from. This is a matter of individual justice, social stability, and global progress. The United Nations protects human rights because that is our proud mission, and because when people enjoy their rights, economies flourish and countries are at peace. Violations of human rights are more than personal tragedies. They are alarm bells that may warn of a much bigger crisis. The UN's Human Rights Upfront Initiative aims to heed those alarms. We are rallying in response to violations before they degenerate into mass atrocities or war crimes. Everyone can advance the struggle against injustice, intolerance, and extremism. I call on states to honor their obligations to protect human rights every day of the year. I call on people to hold their governments to account. And I call for special protections for the human rights defenders who courageously serve our collective cause. Let us respond to the cries of the exploited and uphold the right to human dignity for all.
We are the joy of our nation. We are the unity of our nation. We are the makers of our heritage. We X-ray topical national issues and the trending matters of our time. Examined, dissected, and analyzed. With our team of analysts, you can be sure of an incisive discourse. 9 a.m., Mondays to Fridays. X-ray on Human Rights Radio, 101.1 FM, Abuja.
Good morning once again. Thank you for joining us at 9:23 a.m. My name is Ruth Usman and this is Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM. It's time for X-Ray. And today we are going to take a look at the roles opposition party plays in the country. Nigeria has enjoyed democracy since 1999. Yeah, I was almost saying 2009, but 1999 up until this moment, thereby bringing to birth a number of political parties. However, one political party stands in, when talking about the central government, one political party at a time. However, what becomes of the other political parties? Well, joining me in this conversation this morning is Mr. Ario Dari Atoye. He is from Coalition in Defense of Nigerian Democracy and Constitution. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, my host. And good morning, listeners.
All right, then. So we want to find out really what makes, or what is an opposition party, an opposition party, so to speak.
Under different arrangement, different presidential system, parliamentary system, opposition party, for instance, in the parliament can almost means like having a kind of a shadow cabinet. They're going to have a shadow cabinet. If you have a minister for works, you're going to have a minister for works too on the other side. So they have a kind of a shadow cabinet. So it's more robust under a parliamentary system of government, even though that you can also adapt the same thing under a presidential system, but it's always not that easy. But in the parliamentary system, simply because, member of the parliament are also the member of the executive. Okay. It's a mix. So the opposition and the parliament have a defined way of putting them to tax. But under a presidential system, I believe they have a larger role. And let me just limit it to our own experience here so that people can understand back home. We are yet, because our democracy is still unfolding, we are yet to fully define how an opposition party should operate in our nation. And that is why you realize that we have 68 political parties. And it appears that the engagement we're having is just between the ruling APC and the PDP and one or two other political parties who occasionally make a kind of interjection or make some contributions. Now, while opposition should be robust, is that each opposition party ought to have a kind of a framework, your target. Just like yesterday, I was talking to a young man who said he wanted to contest for president of the country. And
okay. Well, before we go deep, I mean, yeah, you will continue on that thought, but I just wanted us to, clearly have it stated that when this party is not the ruling party, when this party is not the one producing the president, at least it means it is an opposition party, yeah?
It's not given that way simply because opposition is responsibility. Okay. So what we definitely have is that if you playing the role of an opposition is not automatic. It's not automatic because you are not in government. That's one thing that we have to understand here, and probably that's what we have not been able to grapple with.
So for an opposition party, if it has a role, what is the role it has?
To be called an opposition party, it means that you have a responsibility to the people and the society, which means that you are probably watching the government and correcting government and speaking against certain actions of the government. So that's why it's not automatic. Okay. Being an opposition party is not automatic.
There is
so
responsibility, it means that there is action.
There is responsibility. What makes you an opposition party is the responsibility that you are able to take up on behalf of the people and the society. So it's not a given and automatic thing.
Let's break it down. Nigerians would want to know exactly what these rules are. What are these responsibilities? You just mentioned now that, for instance, we have the APC ruling parties. PDP comes in and say a few things. A few other ones, you said in your words, interject, intermittently. What really should we expect from an opposition party?
I can say the PDP, since they had their convention, they've been a bit robust. At least they hop in the game. But what I'm saying here is that opposition is also not limited to criticisms. There are also you also have to provide alternatives. You also have to go as far as also even demonstrating what you're trying to talk about. For instance, if you believe that the government's supposed to do certain things, probably maybe build community toilets, and probably you have a model in mind you believe the government is not doing. As an opposition party, you can raise money from your members and demonstrate that project for government of the day to see. So opposition is not limited to criticism of the mouth, criticism in the media, criticism, talking on the TV and radio. It also means demonstrating action. So you take it beyond that. For instance, you realize that former President Obasanjo has been criticizing. And I've been telling some of my friends and people, probably we need to learn from him. Look at what he did. He saw that the president went to Taraba, but his engagement was not that robust enough. Obasanjo quickly went to Benue. He went to the site of the burial ground. He played one very important role that people probably didn't take cognizance of.
Okay.
That was the fact that he was telling the president that you are not just only going to go and sympathize with the people, you have also have to demonstrate that sympathy. So, because he didn't do it in Taraba, and you realize that when the president now went to Benue, the engagement was better in terms of having a kind of conversation with the people about all the things that happened. So, opposition has to be demonstrated. Is something that the political parties in Nigeria have to learn. And also, opposition can also have what we call defined framework. What do I mean by defined framework? I think in some countries you have what we call Green Party.
Okay.
The Green Party, what their responsibility is, they just want to talk about issue of the environment. They want to talk about maintaining the ecosystem. They want to talk about speak against climate. Therefore, talk about climate change. They want to talk about preserving the environment. So probably they are naturalists. We have also parties who will tell you that, look, we are pro-life. For instance, in America, the Republicans, they are pro-life, which means that they're anti-abortion. They're anti so many other things. We are pro-life. Mike Pence, the VP of Vice President of Donald Trump, has exemplified that very well. That did a lot of rallies. We are pro-life. So that is one thing. That is why we are missing it probably in this part and in Africa. There are a lot of parties, when you look at their constitution, some of them don't have a defined framework, part of the reason why we're having some problems. And let me tell you one thing is, a good number of the parties, including the APC, copy the PDP constitution, and probably others also copy APC and PDP constitution, with some kind of, I've gone through some of the political parties' constitution. It's just an adaptation of the existing document, or an adaptation of an existing document with little modification. There is there is no thought out process of, this is what we really want to fight for. Or this is why we are forming this party. This is our engagement. For instance, you can form a political party to fight unemployment, and you let the people know that it's not as if you are ignoring others, but the nucleus of your engagement is issue of unemployment. Like the young man I saw yesterday, his own was that I think he's somehow an association of unemployment kind of, I think he's their leader. And I told him, I said, look, you have a robust platform which you can use to engage the system. And if you build this platform substantially, next few years, people will get to know you more.
So what you're saying is, by, that action, they can stand to contest in future time, or they can just be there, nurturing whatever aspects, in society that they choose to focus on, and that would still, count them in as opposition party.
No, you see, what I'm trying to say here is that it is the work of opposition most times that help to define a society. You have like more than 2-3 political parties. There will be a political party that will have a robust program on health more than the others. There will be political parties that will have a robust program about nature, have a robust program about employment. And even when it comes to employment, when it comes to economy, they can also have a different defined framework on what they think they want to do. Some will tell you that what we want to, for instance, that was why we in the past, when we have those ideological school of thought talking about socialism, capitalism, mixed economy, all sorts of things. We have the Marxists, we have, all sorts of different school of thought. Now, those things were based on ideological framings of how they think the society should be. So each political party we bring up a program that they think how it can best solve the problem of every society. So in Nigeria, we have 68 political parties. It means that we should have the entire country covered in terms of how to solve our problems. For instance, when you look at Europe, you realize that there are political parties who have not been in the known, who have a kind of extreme tendency. For instance, in Germany, for instance, one of the political parties who has a kind of an extreme view about our extreme worldview, you understand, is currently the number 3 in Germany. And the whole of Europe started having concern. You know why? Simply because they realize that Europe is gradually losing its liberal structure by the sheer fact that some of these kind of parties are coming up. Okay. So also in France, so also in Italy, all sorts of things like that. And this is as a result of fear that probably maybe the liberals are not protecting their country, they're not providing security enough. People are coming from Africa, from Asia, intruding into them and probably stifling their own kind of political culture, all sorts of things like that. So it's over time, you see some of those political parties in all these developed countries with different views coming up. It depends on the feelings and the view of the people.
So, like you rightly mentioned, how many of our political parties, and especially the opposing parties, do we have, as in that people are really aware of? Most times, we only get to hear about them during election period. Everybody starts coming out saying one thing or the other. And in most times, like you mentioned earlier, it's all about criticism. It's more coming out from the mouth than actually doing something constructive for people to see that would provide an alternative.
Yeah.
So how are we getting it wrong?
Yeah, we're getting it wrong to the extent that the document, that's probably the manifesto, the constitution of the political party, this document that speak to how a political party, that speak to the interests of the political party are being issue, are faulty. Faulty to the extent that it has not been internalized for them, for party members to be on the same page of what they think they want to do, for the people or for a given society. Political party is not a small arrangement. Currently, what we have is more political party as platform, as vehicles, not a political party, not as an organization for developing a nation, not as an organization for transforming a society. Now, when you look at the political parties in developed countries, and from time immemorial, when you look at the story, the history of political parties, they are defined in such a way that when you give this political party power, you will see the ideology of that party having a telling effect on the polity. And that's why Europe have been able to define over time the West, the East, based on their political parties' ideology. So it's something that is lacking in our own climate here. One of the things that I think we have to consciously do, and that's to be probably from the civil society, from the non-governmental organization, the media. And I think we should be concerned now that we are not getting it right, politically speaking. 20 years of sustained democracy without defined political framing for our political party is a tragedy. It's a national tragedy, and we have to accept that as a nation. And what people don't understand is that if we don't have good political parties, we can't have good leaders coming out of those political parties. It is not just ordinary, it's not just given. You must be able to select a leader from the prism of its own political party, the worth of its own political parties. The political parties, each political party must have a responsibility to present its best based on its own program. But what we have currently is a kind of a mumbo-jumbo arrangement that is not speaking to any concrete fact and issue. Check the Constitution. For instance, I told to some persons some days ago, I said, look, going forward, I want to be known that as an advocate of restructuring. For instance, if we have a political party, I say, look, 100% what we are committed is restructuring of Nigeria. And they start talking about it. And they start doing programs to educate Nigerians on what restructuring entails, started doing what they call it unbundling the facts about restructuring so that Nigerians can internalize it. Then that political party will be going to different parts of the countries, educating people and sensitizing people what restructuring entails. There will be a political party probably will say, okay, what we want to do is to reform our institutions. This is how we want to do it. And they will go about it telling and educating Nigerians on how they want to achieve it. Probably another political party say, look, what we want to do is just, we are nationalists, and irrespective of anything, we just have to remain one, either we are dying or we are not dying, you know, all sorts of things like that. People must be able to define what they want. I mean, a political party must be able to define what you want to sell to the people, because it is on that basis that people will be able to measure you, so that when they are voting for you, they will know they are voting for you based on certain principles. And if they are not going to vote for you, they believe that because you have betrayed those principles. And that is how a nation is able to grow, and that's how you'll be able to hold the leaders, you know, make them to become more accountable. Because when you know that you don't have to fail your political parties, if you fail the nation, your political party will not be rewarded next time. And that's one thing you see in some of those developed countries. You are not just going to suffer it at the national level, you're going to suffer it across board, because people will see your political party as a dishonest organization. So these are some of the things we have not taken into consciousness as a nation, that the political parties is the most important instrument in any democratic setting, because it is the house, it is the arrangement that is warehousing, you know, the people that you want to use, the policies that you want to engage. So and I think what we need to do is to go into a phase of reforming our political parties. There must be that conscious engagement.
Well, at this point, is it safe to say that an opposition party plays both a positive and negative role? Or does it just play positive roles?
No, they can. You see, let's not deceive ourselves.
And yes, with focus to what is obtainable in Nigeria, so which one of it is more prevalent or obvious in our own society? But then does it play both positive and negative roles?
When you're talking about positive and negative roles, it's contextual. The work of an opposition party.
For instance,
the work
we have
an opposition
this opposition party that is always antagonistic toward, say, the ruling party. There's a lot of attack, slandering.
The work of an opposition party is for the government of the day to fail. But you are not just going to make them. I mean, you are not just going to ask that they should fail. It must be responsive. They have to do it in a responsible way. They have to do it in a constructive way, offering alternative. You see, the difference between the developed countries and some of these other countries, especially in Africa, is that when you see the kind of criticisms that they do in America, in the United Kingdom, is weightier than the one we do here.
Really?
For instance, in the Congress, the American Congress, some of the bills are passed just probably maybe with just 2 or 3 votes advantage, mounting serious opposition. Not what we're having in Nigeria in terms of our parliamentary arrangements, what I call it socio-cultural organizing, blending. Because there is no really ideological framing in terms of how, in terms of engagement, that, oh, this is the opposition party, we are not going to support this bill, we are going to make sure that this bill does not see the light of the day. When you visualize or look at what happens in a country like the United States of America, you will see that opposition is intense. It's not a tea party. It's a very difficult, I mean, they are very business-like minded. They don't give themselves any space whatsoever.
So
you know that
does it mean that ruling party, opposition party can never be in agreement?
No, there are times they can be on the same page, but usually it's not good
for them to be on the same page.
Yeah, it's not.
I mean, what
good.
if the governing party actually makes a good decision, does something right? Can't they, applaud it and say, wow, this was good?
No.
Does it always have to be about you criticizing, coming out to say you have failed here and there?
It's possible. But you see, because of knowledge, because of the place of knowledge and research, you believe that, yeah, whatever this man has done, I can applaud it, but I think we have something better to it. That's the place of knowledge. Okay. And because you must constantly prove as an opposition party that you are better than the ruling party, and that's the game here. You must constantly prove that you are better. So you have to be very careful in applauding whatever stride they are making. But where they usually normally have a consensus and a common front is when they are facing external aggression. It is not always good for them, for the parties to be having squabbles, internal squabbles, to be having problems while they are facing external aggression. It's not good for the health, even though in the West we see it. Sometimes the parties say, look, don't go and fight in so-so country. It's not good for us. They will vote. But most times you realize that the votings are usually one way or the other, the majority, they always have a significant majority in terms of approval. And that's why there are some also certain actions that they want to take, probably in the parliament or in the Congress, that they will need a significant number of votes. You know, it varies from country to country because, for instance, probably you need 60-70% of the votes for certain approval because of the delicate nature of that assignment or the involvement of the country. So it's something that's usually very tough. When you look at what has been happening under Donald Trump, for instance, the president of the United States of America, it's been very, very tough for him, even to get some of his nominees that will be working with him cleared. It's always very difficult for him in the parliament. The Democrats are not making it easy. For instance, there was government, the government shut down, trying to get the actual catch phrase now they use for it. But it happened, that when you close down the government, and when they experienced that, it was because the two parties, Democrat and Republicans, couldn't agree, and there was a shutdown. So that actually hurt the country badly, one way or the other. And
that's taking me to another point too. I mean, most times, especially when we encounter or experience this backlash or criticism, verbal attacks from opposition party, it has a way of heating up the polity. How can, especially, will I say now the politicians or just the opposing party, be mindful of that to not get everybody agitated?
When you're talking about getting people agitated, they want to get people agitated. The reason why no, that's the nature of politics. The only thing is just that when you say that, it has to have within a limit. When they're talking about the limit, because
they are both loyalists for the governing party, likewise for the opposing party. So I think there should be, a way of saying things so that it doesn't heat up the politics. That's just what I'm thinking.
What are you talking about? Because why we are having this discussion about heating up the polity is simply because we are not yet a nation, for instance, like Nigeria, in terms of how our world view or national view of this country, because we have not really taken ownership of the country. We are still divided along religious and tribal lines. Adibin, we have a nation where we see ourselves as all Nigerians, and there is no this ethnic prejudice and all sort of fault lines that have become emblematic and dragging us back to probably the medieval period. We won't be having this kind of discussion. It's a settled case that Americans believe in their country. So whatever disagreement they are going to have is going to be based on issues, emerging realities. Even if there are sentiments, it's not going to be the kind of sentiment, not to the extent that, even though their own disagreement is also getting a bit nasty now. For instance, trying to destroy some of their history, that the history offend, these histories, offend certain aspect of liberty, all sorts of things like that, trying to rewrite some of those things. So, but we're in a very difficult times globally, and there are a lot of problems going on here and there. But in our own country, Nigeria, it's been difficult for us to be able to overcome some of this primitive, thinking on how we should govern this nation. And the one thing we never consciously did since independence was consciously build a nation that works. There are different approaches to it. You can build a nation, like you build it like the way the United States of America everybody decided to own the country. You can also build it based on regional arrangement, such that each region, there is a kind of a very healthy competition for them to develop. And you will still have a country, and there will be a peaceful arrangement. But what we have is a kind of a false arrangement where our federalism is unitary in nature. Nothing is actually define. And these are part of the things that will continue to hurt our process, continue to hurt the way this country is governed. And until we're able to have the kind of arrangement that will allow peace to reign, that will allow what we do to be defined in terms of how a government business should operate. We may not actually be enjoying some of those things they're enjoying some of those developed countries. Our worldview, our interaction, conversations on the National Assembly will still be to defend ethnic interests, to defend religious interests, all sorts of things like that. So these are part of the problems. That's why we have not been able to enjoy ideological, framing of politics. So those things are still very strong. Those fault lines,
We'll save one final question for you. However, let's open up the phone line for now. Let's get to listen to Nigerians, what they think about the roles of opposition party in Nigerian democracy. You can call the number 081-8999-1011. Please be precise and go straight to the point, as we do not have a lot of time. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning, Ruth. How are you doing today?
Very well, thank you. Welcome, Kingsley.
Yeah, thank you so much. Good morning to your guests as well in the studio.
Yeah, good morning.
All right. Ruth, let me start by saying you will always get people agitated no matter what you do, okay? And I think one thing this country have not understand is the importance at which the opposition play in a particular conflict. Yes. And that is, I would also want your guest to please explain what he means by, the issue of shadow parliament. I didn't really get that clearly because, when you're talking about shadow parliament, what the opposition do, that is not really clear. Is that really practicable here in Nigeria? And then finally, I would also like to say that opposition is really a responsibility in a country like Nigeria, but bringing it to the context of Nigeria, is really a responsibility with what we see happening in the country between even the ruling party and the opposition party. Can we really call that a responsibility in our own country? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kingsley, for sharing your thoughts. 081-8999-1011. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Hello.
Good morning. Yeah, good morning.
Good morning. Can you be more audible? What's your name, please?
My name is Solomon.
Solomon, I can barely hear you.
My name is Solomon. I'm calling from Lifetime. Can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, you are talking about the opposition in Nigeria.
Go ahead.
The meaning of the opposition is like you being a leader for your house or a leader of anywhere. And then don't forget that it has to do that you don't have to complain because you are a leader. Then talking about opposition, in Nigeria, if you have been in opposition party, you can come out with different constitution. I don't know whether you are having a constitution, the same constitution that PDP have been using before. So we don't know. But this present administration as opposition, they come out with another different own. So we don't know where we are. We don't know what to do. And then we a whole lot of things that are happening. We don't really understand. Their own opposition. They are really not in Nigeria.
Well, I keep listening. I'm sure we'll have a better understanding.
Hello?
Yeah, I said keep listening. I'm sure you have a better understanding. Okay? Thank you,
Hello?
Solomon. Okay, I'm not sure he can also hear me, but let me quickly get another call, if possible, before we go back to you in the studio. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
You're welcome. What's your name?
My name is Marcelina Teddy.
Okay, please, can you be more audible?
My name is Marcelinos.
Marcelinos. Okay, I'm listening.
Actually, I want to appreciate the man in the studio. He has really thrown light on some of the issues that bothers us as Nigerians. And the question of the role of the opposition. opposition stands to cheapen the government in power from an ideology they believe that things should be done better. But what we see in Nigeria today is that whoever is not in power wants to grab power with all means. And when this power is given, there's nothing in place that has been, there's no structure on ground to run the power that you were fighting for. The opposition party, or let me say opposition, should be able to give clear direction or even help the government in power to see how government should be run. But in Nigeria case, it's not like that. They see opposition fighting for their personal interest, not the interest of the nation. Seeing the government in power as enemies is supposed not to be like that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Linus, for sharing your thoughts with us. Now, quickly, Mr. Ario, Kingsley asked a question about, for you to explain more on shadow parliament.
We probably, maybe if he has time to read more, we had a parliamentary system in 1960. Even before then, the British actually handed over a kind of a parliamentary arrangement. It's also known as the cabinet system. And what happened here is that you have the opposition and you have the government at the center, that's the prime minister. And you have the prime minister, you have a ceremonial head. It's just like what's obtainable in the United Kingdom, where the Queen is the ceremonial head, where you have the prime minister, currently Theresa May. We had Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa as prime minister then, the ceremonial head being Dr. Nnamdi Azikwe, and the leader of the opposition was Chief Obafemi Awolowo. So what they do is that they constantly watch over what the government of the day, because you have the majority party forming the cabinet in the parliamentary system. So now they're going to form a cabinet, and the advantage here is that the people who are also member of the parliament are also member of the cabinet. So it's different from a presidential system of government where you have a president, you have the parliament differently, and you have your ministers appointed by the president.
For lack of time, I hope perhaps Kingsley could just do some more research on that so we can proceed. And then he's also wondering if you saying that, being an opposition party is all about responsibility. How practical is that in Nigeria? So far, have we seen that happen?
No, you see, when I talk about responsibility, criticism is also a responsibility. When you make it a responsibility...
But I want to believe that Nigerians want to see more of action.
Yes,
not just about you attacking the other person.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. When you're talking about constructive engagement, which, let me put it that way, constructive engagement, you are not just criticizing, you are also offering alternative. And probably what they've not seen more...
Hoping something better.
Yes. For instance, if government is doing this, you'll be able to tell the government that this is what you think will be better. For instance, government is talking about giving amnesty to Boko Haram. As a opposition party, you can say, no, this will not serve the interest of the country. This, I would think you should do it. Your security engagement, we don't think you are doing what is right. Opposition party can say, okay, this government of the day is not ready to talk about ranches for cattle. What we want to do is that we are going to ensure that this is an arrangement we want to do to solve the problem of the herdsmen crisis all over the country. This is what opposition parties should do. And probably maybe in a state where the opposition has control, then you can now engage your governor and say, look, engage your governor and tell him to set up a ranch or ranches in order to show an example to government of the day that we can actually have peace in our state if we go this path. It could be in health, it could be in a diverse area. So why I call it a responsibility is that you criticize, yes, then you take it.
You offer alternative.
You offer alternative. And not just offering alternative, also in the saying. If you have a means of demonstrating it in the practical sense, you also go ahead to demonstrate it in the practical sense.
So if Nigerian opposition parties have actually failed to understand their roles and, go about doing that just as it is expected, is it safe for us to see it as a failure in governance in Nigeria?
It's our approach generally, because the current government, when they were in opposition, they were just doing the kind of criticism, model up all sorts of things.
Yeah, you mentioned the former president. I mean, very recently he just came out again and said this government is
I know that's exactly
failed government.
Yeah,
it's more of talking.
That's exactly what I'm saying. The current opposition, I believe they are upping their game since they had a new executive in November last year. And I want to believe that they are getting better one way or the other. The only thing is we also have a responsibility, because it should not be about the PDP. It shouldn't be about any other party. It should be about our nation. Strengthening the opposition parties is in the collective interest of the country, because when you have a very vibrant opposition party that engages in opposition party or parties that engage in constructive things with the ruling government, it's in the interest of the country. So it's in our interest as a nation for how to have a robust opposition that will be able to put the ruling party to task and call them to order when necessary, and also even provide alternatives. So these are some of the things we all must do. And the PDP, yeah, they're trying. People are saying now that they are hearing more of them, all sorts of things.
Remember, the election year is just around the corner, perhaps.
Yes, I'm sure. I'm sure that one of the things again is that they normally wait till when they have a presidential candidate election. But it goes beyond that. Opposition is just like when government is governing. It's also the business of opposition to be looking out for loopholes, because
it doesn't mean they should go home and sleep.
No, that's how the society gets better. You continue to and a very serious government, you're not going to see it as unnecessary antagonism. You probably take some of them and act on some of those corrections.
Okay, many thanks to you, Mr. Ario Dare Atoye, who is a co-convener coalition in defense of Nigerian democracy and constitution. It's been a pleasure speaking with you in the studio this morning, and many thanks to those who called in as well.